It's easy to look at pro cyclists and think they only use the latest and greatest gear available. But just like there's some things the pros can't have because the UCI won't let them, there's plenty of old stuff still used by World Tour pros too. Whether that's because their sponsors simply haven't invested in upgrading it, or because it's so good it stood the test of time, here are the oldest things still used in pro road cycling. While most of the pro peloton has gone tubeless, Specialized sponsored pro teams remain steadfastly loyal to the brand's S-Works Turbo Cotton clinchers. As was popular when it launched in 2014, the Turbo Cotton uses an open tubular design, using a lightweight high thread count cotton casing with the rubber tread glued on top. Paired with a latex inner tube, such tyres could provide a fast setup with great ride quality on clincher rims. That it also has beautiful golden sidewalls, of course, also helps. More than a decade after it debuted, it's still clearly competitive too, with a long list of high-profile wins on the bikes of riders such as Remco Evenepoel, Mark Cavendish, Primož Roglič and Demi Vollering. Over the years, the Turbo Cotton has seen off internal competition from multiple tubeless options in the Specialized roster. But its long-standing reign could finally be nearing an end, as Specialized looks to have yet another S-Works Turbo tubeless tyre in the works. Spot it at Omloop Het Nieuwsblad, and you can hit the link in the video description if you want to see more new wheel and tyre tech from that race. Could that be the tyre that finally convinces Specialized pro road teams to go tubeless? Even if you are using one of the most expensive group sets available, if you're running a front derailleur, there's still a chance you might drop your chain at a really bad moment during a race. As a result, many pro riders run chain catchers on their bikes, mostly in the style pioneered by Kristin Armstrong in 2008. As BikeRadar's former US editor Ben Delaney reported back in 2014, Armstrong and her husband Joe Savola developed this idea whilst looking for a way to prevent chain drops during the hilly TT at the Beijing Olympics. Now, having tried a number of alternatives and found them all lacking, they eventually settled on the Brazon-style chain catcher we know today, which Armstrong used on the way to winning the first of her 3 Olympic gold medals. In the following year, the couple founded K-Edge to bring this design to market, and it's been widely copied ever since, as K-Edge only had a design patent and not a utility patent. Despite almost 2 decades of development in drivetrain tech, these little devices can still be found on plenty of pro bikes today and are often requested by team mechanics who want to avoid any blame for incidents like Chaingate at the 2010 Tour de France. After it was superseded by the radical Aerohead 2 last year, we thought we might have seen the last of this one. But with time trial helmets in road racing being one of this year's hottest tech trends, Giro's 2015 Aerohead helmet has found a new lease of life within the pro peloton. It launched into a market dominated by short-tail TT helmets inspired by Team Sky's Casque Bambino, with time trial helmets getting larger and way more outlandish in recent years, so much so that the UCI announced it would be conducting an in-depth analysis of the situation last year. The original Aerohead was beginning to look a little bit benign. And perhaps using it as an aero road helmet is just a stopgap until Giro develops something new for Team Visma Lease bike to use in bunch races. For now though, the Aerohead clearly retains its place in the World Tour on merit, even if its focus has shifted slightly. Sticking on the theme of helmets, Giant's Pursuit Aero Road helmet is also fairly long in the tooth, having first been used at the 2016 Tour de France. Following in the wake of early Aero Road helmets such as the Giro Air Attack, the Giant Pursuit looked to balance aerodynamic efficiency, ventilation and weight, a combination of characteristics that remains relevant today. Over the years, it's been worn by the likes of Tom Dumoulin on the way to his overall victory in the 2017 Giro d'Italia, and by Michael Matthews, who won the green jersey at the Tour de France in the same year. With updates coming to other areas of its kit range in recent years, and the fact that it's still keen for its pro teams to promote it, the Taiwanese brand clearly hasn't mothballed this part of its business, so perhaps a new Aero Road helmet could be next on the cards. Having launched way back in 2009, the Fizik Aeres saddle is a real golden oldie, but it remains the favoured choice of British road and track star Ethan Hayter, at least when it comes to track racing. Originally prototyped in partnership with the Garmin Slipstream Pro team, which continues today under the guise of EF Education EasyPost, the Aeres saddle is essentially a short-nosed version of the brand's popular Tyres saddle. As well as helping to reduce soft tissue pressure, the shorter length meant that riders could push it further forward towards the bottom bracket for a more aggressive TT position. With Hayter having moved to Soudal Quickstep for this year and next, it will be interesting to see if he switches saddles for all disciplines or whether he stays true to the Aeros when racing on the boards. Power meters are a firm fixture of practically all World Tour bikes nowadays, but it's an area that has been fairly settled in terms of basic tech for the previous decade. As such, Power2Max's long-standing NG Road Spider has been working away diligently, recording the monstrous watts of pro cyclists since 2016. If at this point you're thinking, hey, but Power2Max doesn't sponsor any World Tour teams, you'd be right, but it sneaks in under the guise of FSA's Powerbox Team Edition, which is supplied to 3 men's and 2 women's teams via agreements with FSA. In this instance, it's likely a case of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. After all, it already offers accuracy to plus or minus 1% within a power range of 10 to 2,999 watts at a cadence range of 20 to 250 RPM. What more does anyone need? A bottle cage so old it's literally tech from the previous century, the Elite Ciussi is generally reserved for one race and one race only, Paris Roubaix. It is admittedly a rarer sight than in years past, but British national road race champion Pifer Georgie opted for a set during last year's edition of the infamous Cobbled Classic. I hope that's right anyway, sorry Pifer. The Italian brand launched the first version of this iconic cage way back in 1992. So why, when all manner of fancy new materials and designs exist for storing water bottles on bikes, do some pros doggedly persist with them? Perhaps there's an element of nostalgia involved, but the fact that the aluminium arms can be bent in for an even tighter hold doubtless helps. With pro riders consuming huge amounts of fluids and carbohydrates during races nowadays, big power requires plenty of calories after all. Ensuring that you don't lose your bottles is absolutely crucial. Having lived through the bottom bracket wars of the late 2000s and early 2010s, many road bikes have now come full circle and settled back on a standard launched in 2003. When it was introduced, Shimano's Hollowtech BB was innovative because it moved the bearings outside of the frame, allowing for larger bearings and a wider, stiffer bottom bracket area. It shone brightly for a few years until press fit fever took hold and brands began innovating to their heart's content. More than 20 years on though, even some pro race bikes on the cutting edge of tech, such as the Specialized Tarmac SL8, the Cannondale Super 6 Evo, and the Pinarello Dogma F still make use of this decades old tech. Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're looking for more up-to-date tech, then why not check out this video on 2025's hottest trends.